What's up YouTube, Mallow SMS here. We are a day later than I'd like to have got this out, which I do want to apologise for. I did have issues with the editing file. But we are now back and I have got the set 5 early lists sorted out. So we're going to be going through the 5 Craycross epic lines and the 3 encounter lines. Not touching the other ride lines, more for the fact that they weren't directly supported. And any small changes that might happen, like with the heels, are more addressed in their next big update, which for overdress is going to be Festival Collection. We are going to be getting some of those lines. So we're going to start off with the 3 encounter cards for this one. And we are beginning with Dragon Empire and Dragonic Overlord at the end. So you can see from the list over here, it is a relatively similar list to the current Dragonic Overlord. All we've done in addition is we've added in 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord at the end, and 4 copies of Burning Horn Dragon. We have kept base Dragonic Overlord as a 4 of, more for the fact of if you don't find Dragonic Overlord at the end, you can still Persona ride in the deck. It's an extra Overlord target for Burning Horn to search, and overall it's discard fodder at the least, if not if you've managed to hit your Dragonic Overlord at the end. We have cut back on some of the supporting cards, obviously to make room for the Burning Horn. We are still keeping the Toga Jirachis because it's really good soul fodder for the 4 main deck Nahalims. And we have got obviously the Madonna Joker, I can't remember its exact name. It's a 15k shield grey one just for extra little bit of defensive. We have gone for front triggers in this deck now, more for the fact of the whole deck is front power game, front power game, front power game, so we might as well add more to it. We aren't a desperate need for the draw power because we have got extra search power now with the Burning Horn. And we've still got Dragonic Overlord giving us extra drive checks as well now on top. Heal triggers, we are currently going for the new ones, which are when your opponent's got units restood and attacked again, gains plus 15k shield. Might change with Festival Collection because obviously we've got the ones that gain extra 15k shield based on if your opponent's got a critical from outside of triggers. But obviously these heals, along with the base heals, will interchange around based on what the current meta is like. Overall, Dragonic Overlord got some really nice tools, and it's still a really big pile of pressure. Next one up is Phantom Blaster Overlord. Now Phantom Blaster Overlord's got some very nice buffs in the form of himself, which, whilst you've got a Phantom Blaster Dragon in your soul, he'll gain an extra crit, which is a really good buff. He also does, on attack, retire 2 of your rear guards to then pull a Blaster Dark from your soul or drop zone. And then both him and the Blaster Dark called both gain power plus 10,000. So on a Persona ride turn, this is really big pressure because obviously he's going to be 33k, the Blaster Dark on the rear guard is going to be 30k. Big numbers. Overlord's got the crit. Multi-attack for the deck is really nice. We have also got one of the newer cards, which is the new Grade 2, which is when as your attacks, if you've retired 2 or more units, doesn't have to be yours or your opponent's, can be either, or a combination, he'll gain power plus 10,000. So an extra nice little bit of push, so he can swing in unboosted on a PBO retire turn. You can then sack him off, call Blaster Dark to his spot and still have the boost there to boost with. The other thing we also gained in this set was a nice little bit of support in the form of the main. Give us that extra little bit of put a card from hand to soul to draw 2 cards. Really good. I have stuck with the PVD as the ride line instead of going for PBO. More for the fact of if you go for PBO, you've then got to try and find a PVD and then force it into your soul with no main, which isn't always going to be the best. Overall, got a nice little bit of filter. Still keeping with the draws though, because we do need to build up our hand presence because we are retiring 2 to call 1 back, so you do lose card advantage overall. And then the final of the encounter cards is going to be Majesty Lord Blaster. Obviously, this one's not in a good of a spot card-wise compared to Dragonic Overlord and Phantom Blaster. More for the fact of this is its first wave of support compared to this being their second waves. But even then, we've still got Majesty Lord Blaster, which whilst whilst you've got Blaster Blade and Dark in Soul, does become a 15k base on both players' turns. So it does be a really nice defensive mechanic against the likes of Magnolia, which turns 10k shields into 5k shields. You do also have the extra part of when you suck them in, you do get separate skills. If you suck in a Blasted Blade, you retire a rearguard. If you suck in a Blasted Dark, you gain an extra drive check. On top of all that, he does gain a crit for having them both in Soul alongside the power, so you've still got that nice bit of pressure from Magic Lord Blaster. And we've also got Bedivere and K for extra bit of filtering. We have gone for Blasted Dark in our Aurora Blade instead of Blasted Blade, more for the fact of, if Marin fails to find a blast in the top 7, it calls the Wingle Brave from Soul to Rearguard Circle, which then lets you retire for Blast Dark to then gain an extra drive check out of it, which is really good pressure. Finishing up, we do have the new order, which is Counterblast 1, Surge Deck for a Blaster, so it lets you find your missing pieces to get your Magic Lord Blaster online. Combining that with Painkiller for the extra bit consistency, along with Bedivere and K for deck thinning, overall is a really nice compact deck that could actually have a lot of pressure behind it. Next up, we are now moving on to the Craycross Epic lines, and we are starting off with Tamiura. Now, Tamiura is a really nice deck because it's focusing not so much on the offensive power of the game, but more on the defensive power of the game, in the form of her Fox Art, which is Soul Blast 2, give your Vanguard the skill of all your opponent's front row rearguards lose minus 10,000 power. So if they do multi-attack shenanigans with the likes of Baron Magnus, where it goes in and out of Soul, the new unit's called will still have that minus 10k. But combining that also with the fact you've got consistency of finding offensive cards with the likes of Ririmi, one who eats opponent's rearguard into their Soul, and the other one it's draws you cards, which you can call out from Tamiura's skill to then guard with them to put them back into Soul again, to then keep looping that every turn to get that extra bit of draw power going. We have got the front triggers in here as well, because obviously that extra 20k shield is really nice. Minus with the grade 1 Stealth Fiend, we've got the 15k shield back again in grade 1 form. But on top of that, we've also got the new grade 1 double rare from the set, which is really strong. Which, on place, check top 7, look for a glitter or a stealth, and put it into your Soul. So this will normally find your Raramise, or herself, and put it into Soul. Herself more for the fact of building up Soul to pay for the costs of Rarami. Talking of building up Soul, we do have 3 copies of Orlando and the new grade 3 dinosaur from this set, both of which tuck themselves into Soul in the battle phase to save you overcalling your units when you swing with Tamiura. All in all, it's a really solid deck, and honestly, can't wait to see how they support it further with more Fox Arts down the line, because the grade 1 does leave it open-ended and look for Fox Arts. So we could see a different branch of it coming out with the next wave support. Next up, we have got Chaos. Now, Chaos is a weird one because he is a Highlander deck. More for the fact of he focuses on the number of different card names in your Soul. So, as you can see from the list on the side over here, we've gone Rainbow Triggers, and we've gone each available different version of trigger in the deck. So, lots of stuff. We've also gone for 4 copies of the new pony, which skill is bind it from Soul to Soul Charge 2. So it can, if you've got 2 ponies in Soul, you can bind one, Soul Charge 2, and try and increase your chances of finding a different card to put into your Soul. Try and hit those multiple different names as quickly as possible. Also got the new grade 2 from this set, which is on place, Soul Blast 1, draw a card and put a card from hand into Soul, and then gains extra power based on the number of different card names you got in your Soul. So this is really good because obviously it's more Pacific Soul Charging, which is something that we haven't got much of in Dark Stage yet. So obviously you can combo this off with the pony to put the pony into Soul to then Soul Blast out to then Soul Charge some more. We have got Crimson Expeller in here as an extra bit of Soul control. You can Soul Blast her out if you've got 2 in Soul, then get an extra bit potential different name Soul. We have got Mccarney, which is a restander when your Vanguard with Chaos attacks, which combos nicely with Quenlu. So obviously you can put Quenlu into Soul, grab the grade 1 double rare from the new set, which on place, Cat Blast 1, call a card from Soul. If you've got 13 different names, she'll then be ungrade restricted. Outside that, she calls grade 1 or less. So obviously you can use Quenlu, put it on 1 Mccarney, place her down, call Quenlu back out, put it back in, put it on the other Mccarney. So you can have four swings, all that have a restriction on no grade 1s or higher. Combining this with Chaos's skill to give all rear guards plus 10k if you've got 13 different names in Soul, can provide to be very fatal in the late game. All in all, really fun deck, and this is going to be constant getting support for the fact of every generic Dark States card can work with Chaos, so it's going to be a forever evolving deck, so it's going to be really interesting. Next one up on the list is Eva. Now Eva's mechanic is more focusing around the mass deck thinning from her skill based on the number of researchers you've got in your order zone. We have only gained one research with this, which is, in my opinion, is balancing the deck, because having two different researchers from the get-go does put it a bit too far ahead of the rest of the set. So giving it one for now does keep it within track. It's still got a nice bit of deck thinning due to the combination of on attack, shield, call, obstacle, deed from deck. You've got Pentatha thinning. You've got her Eva's main phase skill of Cat Blast 1. You check top X equal to the number of researchers you got in your order zone, and then stack the rest of the bottom deck. So you do get a lot of deck compression from this deck. We do have new grade 1, which is on place. Choose a card from your drop zone, put it to the bottom of your deck, and if it was a grade 3 you put there, you can Soul Blast 3 to draw a card. So obviously this is really good for recycling the obsidians from the drop zone back to deck. More for the fact of why this is good is the fact of when obsidian's called from Eva's effect, he'll gain a critical, and he also gains power based on the number of order cards in your order zone. So overall, really solid card. He also does gain 10k shield and intercept, which is whilst you've got Eva. So this is another really good buff. So you can obviously intercept with him, get him into drops, put him back into deck with the grade 1s, then grab him back out again. Obviously, as you can see, this does require a bit of soul. So obviously, to combine with this, we have got Bobble Mine for extra countercharge soul charge. But we've also put in the grade 1 Meteor just so we can get Ultradide's first effect on that turn earlier. So you will be wanting to hard mulligan for the grade 1 Meteor. So you can then play Meteor turn 1, Research turn 2, Research turn 3, because the ride line obviously gives you researchers. So then turn 3, you're calling Ultradide out, he's a 23k attacker. All in all, this deck is really fun and honestly my favourite deck from the set. So I can't wait to see how it holds up in the meta over the next coming months. Moving on, we do have Thegria next. Now Thegria is a bit of an interesting one because obviously she focuses all around persona riding, and this is benefited by the fact of she says any Thegria rode on top of her does count as persona ride. So obviously we've got the light and the shadow version. So you can ride light on light to gain the power, you can ride shadow on shadow to gain the power, or you can cross over. This is really nice for the fact of you've got so many cards that do extra stuff when grade 3 is placed on your Vanguard circle, like Maple herself. Maple herself calls herself from drop zone once your grade 3 Vanguard is placed. And both Thegrias work off of, if you've run on top of the other one, they'll gain the ability to either restand the Vanguard if you're the Shadow Thegria, or restand one of your rear guards if you're on the Light Thegria. Comboing this off with Maple, Maple's skill will also help you create consistent persona rides for the fact of at the end of the battle she'll attack. You can Soul Blast any number of cards to then add a card from soul to hand equal to whose grade equals the total sum of the grades the cards you Soul Blasted. Now this may seem a bit awkward to begin with. She also tucks herself into soul at the end of that as well. I forgot that part, apologies. So this might seem a bit awkward to begin with. Well, when we're combining it with the Witch Promo and Diffuser Angel, who both tuck cards from hand into soul to do other stuff. Both, which is Diffuser gaining power and the Witch will let you draw a card. This is really good pressure, and you can keep cycling your persona rides every single turn, so you're not too reliant on having your grade 3s in hand every time. You can choose which Thegria you want to prefer as your grade 3 in your ride deck. This is for the fact of the grade 2 doesn't specify a specific Thegria. So if you wanted to, you could put Shadow as your main one, so then your first persona ride turn, you are actually doing the multi-attack with the rear guards. Obviously this is down to personal preference, doesn't matter either way. On top of that, we have got the new grade 2 double rare, which is really solid for the fact of Whilst he's in your front row rearguard circle, he does give all your other units that have got different names to this card anti-target protection, which is really solid. He does also gain 5k when he attacks until the end of turn, so obviously if he's your restand target for Thegria, he will gain a total of 10k. All in all, another really solid deck, and can't wait to see how it holds up in the meta. Now finishing up, we do have Aurora, who is deemed to unfortunately be the worst of the 8 decks. More for the fact of he's not got that much going for him, because he's half there, that's the best way to say it. He's got a good early game, because obviously the grade 1 and grade 2 from the ride line do spawn tokens. First one, grade 1 spawns one in for free, just like the old Neo-Nectar Musketeers did. And the grade 2 sacrifices their token to call 2 more tokens. So this can obviously be comboed off nicely with Radlina, who Counterblast 1 calls her own Momoka token, which can then sacrifice other cards to then gain more power, and it gets to attack from the back row. So obviously this is another Stoicaea multi-attacker deck, so obviously we do include inlet pulses for it, and we do try and include different ways to abuse the token calling that comes from the grade 2 and the grade 3. We have got the likes of Grower's main skill, which you can sacrifice tokens when he's being attacked to gain power for that attack. You've also got the likes of Tearful Malice, which can sacrifice 2 cards to draw a card, put this to soul, and countercharge one. So obviously this then funds the cost you've paid for Radlina Cat Blast to call the token, and Rora Soul Blast to call 3 tokens. Obviously you can sacrifice the 3 tokens called from Rora to Radlina's Momoka token. We do also have Rotting Usurp Dragon, just for that extra little bit of something we can call off of when you're riding to sacrifice to the Momoka token. All in all, it's a fun deck, but it could do with that little bit more support, I feel like. But that is going to be it for this video. If you haven't done so already, please do like, comment, subscribe. It very much does help the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye!